is now my singular pleasure and honor to introduce to you our first speaker this afternoon, the Most Reverend John C. Wester, Bishop of the Roman Catholic Diocese here in Utah. Bishop Wester is also the chair of the Migration and Refugees Committee for the entire United States Council of Bishops. Bishop Wester is a relative newcomer to Salt Lake City, but it took him about a nanosecond to impress upon everyone in the city, everyone in the state, exactly where his passion lies, and that his heart indeed overfloweth with compassion for exactly the reason that we are gathered here this afternoon. And so it is indeed my pleasure to welcome to the podium right now Bishop John Wester.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much to Reverend Tom Goldsmith, and it's wonderful to meet you, Reverend Sinkford, and to be with Bishop Carolyn Tanner Irish again, and the other religious leaders who are here, and lay leaders, and thank you one and all. We are all compassionate together, and together all of us combine the face of compassion. It's an honor to be with you. Thank you. Can you hear me now? I'm not even getting paid to say that like the advertisement. Can you hear me now? I would like to address my comments specifically to the reality of the raids and deportation, and others will speak about other areas. For some time now, as we know, the Department of Homeland Security has targeted employers who hire unauthorized workers by using force to enter work sites and to arrest immigrant workers. We've experienced several of these raids here in Utah, one of which sadly took place on December 12th, the feast day for many of us of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Over the past year, 6,000 immigrants have been deported, but only 10 employers have been prosecuted. During the process of these raids, United States citizen children have been separated from their parents for days, if not longer. Immigrants arrested have not been afforded the rights of due process, and local communities, including legal permanent residents and U.S. citizens, have been disrupted and dislocated. The sweeping nature of these raids, which often involve hundreds of law enforcement personnel with weapons, strike fear in immigrant communities and make it difficult for those arrested to secure basic due process protections, including legal counsel. Children who are U.S. citizens are forced to either go to a country where they do not know, which they do not know, or to live here with relatives and friends, enduring separation of family. With many communities living in fear of deportation, they are afraid to cooperate with local authorities as they are forced more and more into the shadows. We are gravely concerned about the collateral human consequences of immigration enforcement raids on the family unit. Many of our local churches, wards, synagogues, and temples have helped to respond to the human needs generated by these enforcement actions, providing counseling and legal services to parents and children, and basic needs assistance to immigrant communities. Raids strike fear into the immigrant community, leaving their families to cope in the aftermath. Some never recover. As our government confronts the challenges of immigration, let it not forget its core duties to protect the family unit as the fundamental institution upon which society and government itself depends. While we do not question the right and even the duty of our government to enforce the law, we do question whether worksite enforcement raids are the most effective and humane method for performing this duty, particularly as they are presently being implemented. We ask, therefore, I join you, therefore, in asking that the Department of Homeland Security should refrain from enforcement activity in those areas that are providing humanitarian relief, in churches, hospitals, community health centers, schools, food banks, and other community-based organizations. We ask that primary, not simply sole, but primary caregivers should be released following an enforcement action to care for their children. A variety of release mechanisms, including parole in the public interest, release on recognizance, bail, and alternatives to detention, should be utilized for this purpose. DHS should facilitate access to meaningful legal representation for arrested individuals so that they are aware of their legal rights. Enforcement actions should be conducted in a manner which preserves basic human dignity, and immigrants who are working to survive and support their families should not be treated like criminals because they are not criminals. Absent the effective and immediate implementation of these safeguards, we believe that these enforcement raids should be abandoned. Immigration enforcement raids demonstrate politically the ability of the government to enforce the law, but they do little to solve the broader challenge of illegal immigration. They also reveal, sadly, the failure of a seriously flawed immigration system, which, as we have consistently stated, requires comprehensive immigration reform. I believe that there is hope. In March, several of us had the opportunity to speak with Department of Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano, and we asked her to please reconsider the raids policy. She listened attentively, and she is very concerned, in my view, about these matters. Since then, DHS has announced a switch from these worksite actions to more of a focus on unscrupulous employers. We have seen some downturn in these raids, and hopefully they will eventually end. Of course, the ultimate solution to this issue is a comprehensive immigration reform bill which would legalize the undocumented and allow families to remain together here in the United States. We are hopeful that in the not-too-distant future, such an achievement can be realized. Just yesterday, President Obama met with leaders of Congress to discuss the issue, and the process of drafting legalization has begun. I believe we should support such legislation and a just conclusion to this issue. In the meantime, I join with all of you here today, and I pray to God that SB 81 will not add to the fear and the uncertainty of so many immigrants, our brothers and sisters in our midst. I believe that these immigrants have a God-given right to live in freedom with an opportunity to support themselves, their families, and their dreams. So many of our ancestors found an answer to their prayers when they arrived on our shores. It is our hope that more of our citizens will become increasingly aware of the plight of the immigrant in the United States today and offer them hospitality and help them to become citizens, and especially to avoid the terrible evil of human trafficking in our world today. Those fleeing poverty, persecution, and repression are not looking for a handout, but a helping hand as they strive to become citizens in this great country of ours. These are hard-working, family-centered, respectable people who will make good neighbors and good citizens. We have nothing to lose and everything to gain by welcoming the stranger in our midst. May God bless you all, and thank you very much.